Welcome to another one of my hardcore videos. And before I start recording, I think I should point out the elephant in the room in the fact that my skin's different, and as you can see, I did change it up a bit. Now, this wasn't something I actually wanted to do, and that was because basically what happened is Minecraft updated and all the little skin textures and stuff, and one of the things they changed was the texture for my skin's eyes, was like the critical point of the skin, and it actually caused a bit of problems. It almost broke the whole thing, but I was able to sort everything out. Unfortunately, I did lose my skin and its normal texture, so I changed it out for this one, which I kind of just created on the fly, and it will make a nice substitute. So basically, now that that's out of the way, I want to make a mob grinder this video. And I'm going to be a bit experimental with it, because usually I do watch a couple of tutorials on the farms I make. Sometimes I just go completely blind, but that doesn't always work out. Those farms up there are proof of it. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do half and half. Because I had an idea for a pretty good mob grinder that's pretty unique, but I need to test it out a few times and just make sure everything's working. So now I'm actually gonna head over to an ocean because I think that's ideal placement for a mob grinder. And I'm just gonna head over there and I guess start marking out a place to start building. Alright, I am out here in the middle of an ocean and you may be wondering to yourself, well, what's a super mob grinder? Well, I'd classify a super mob grinder as a mob grinder that can actually harvest more than one type of mob and target specific mobs. For example, a typical mob grinder would just kind of get all the nightly mobs, like creepers, skeletons, zombies, stuff like that. Well, a super mob grinder, I think, should be able to target, for example, just creepers or just skeletons. So basically, I'm going to build a farm with a bunch of layers that all feed into the same killing chamber, and each layer will target a specific mob. For example, there'll be a creeper farm in here, and there'll also be a skeleton farm if I can manage to make one, and there'll just be a general mob farm. So it will be quite the interesting little farm to build, but I think it will look great and it will come out great. So now I'm gonna build a quick pack. I'm gonna. Oh man, I really botched that. I'm gonna build a quick platform to put the water in to collect all the mobs and push them into the same killing chamber. So let me actually start working on that. Alright, so this is the collection system I made, and basically anything, it could be a mob, an item, basically anything I throw in any point in this will make its way down into the collection system, which is just, well, it's technically a kill chamber, but it's literally just something in the middle of that. Kind of just slides its way through there. It makes its way over there no matter what it is. Like, even if I stood here, I'd slowly make my way through there. I'm not going to do that because it is a kill chamber and I don't feel like dying right now. So anyways, this is the collection system right now. Literally just some chests to collect the rotten flesh. Obviously, there will be zombies up there and they will start burning. But the next step I want to make is to actually start doing, like, the actual farms. Because obviously, yes, I have a kill chamber, but no farms means nothing to die in the kill chamber. So the first thing I am going to do is a creeper farm. Now for this creeper farm, keep in mind that I'm going for easy rather than efficient. And the reason for this is because, like, I am going to have another mob grinder on top of this. So even though I am going to be targeting creepers specifically, I don't need to focus too heavily on them, where that I have to sacrifice the other mob grinder just for the creepers. So I'm going to start working on a design for this, and hopefully it does work out well, and I've already tested it, the kill chamber indeed does work. So this is the farm design I am using, and evidently I've done something wrong because... Oh wait, no, I did it right, never mind. Well anyways, creepers are supposed to spawn in these spots. Oh, I didn't know you could walk under here. Why am I punching these guys? I have perfectly good equipment. Anyways, I'm trying to get creepers to spawn just to make sure I did everything right. I checked I did do everything right, I think. Oh, I missed a couple buttons. But I'm just going to do a once over this. So basically, I built a giant waffle, essentially, and I just placed a bunch of trapdoors here, so that creepers should be, like, spawning in and in between these, like, little waffle-like areas. So now, I'm just going to double check, make sure I've done everything right, and then I'll try building a couple layers of it. Okay, so I worked out some of the minor bugs in the system, fixed up the water stream a little bit, and added these trapdoors, which basically just mean that when the creepers spawn in, they're forced to fall into there, just because they think it's a full block, but it really isn't. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start layering this farm. So basically, according to the tutorial I watched, and I have used that person's works before, and they do work quite well. Basically, what they said was you need to have. Alright, so I worked out some little bugs in the farm. Like, for example, I fixed up the killing chamber, and I added these trapdoors in so that the creepers, when they spawn in, think that this is a full block and they fall in. Now, according to the tutorial, you should layer this farm. Apparently, it makes it like 10 times more efficient. So, since I already have an extra layer here, I'll probably make the tutorial advised, I think, 6 layers in the farm. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and pile up some layers on this and just make it a quick time lapse because I think that would be nice and I really need to start working on this. So let's get into that. Alright, so the farm is finished, but something I just noticed, because I'm in my AFK platform right now, and I literally just noticed that I am indeed in the wrong spot. Oops. Okay, this is not good. Okay, basically I need to be one forward because right now I'm too far and creepers are despawning. But the farm is finished, it's working. I tested it out a little while ago and it was, as a matter of fact, working perfectly. So now I'm just gonna move my AFK platform because I just noticed that the break, and then I will wait at this farm for about an hour, see how the results are, and see if it's any good because I spent a good long time on this farm. Hopefully it wasn't all for nothing. Alright, so the creeper farm has been beyond successful, and I've been getting a lot of, like, gunpowder, and, yeah, just really gunpowder. At first it wasn't working, it was spawning in zombies as well, but now it's just spawning creepers. Turns out my AFK platform was in the wrong place. The video said to put it 20 blocks from the center of the farm, but I decided to put it more closer to the platform because the collection system, they were despawning in the collection system, which meant that I wasn't getting any gunpowder, and this has been like 10 times more efficient. So I think it's time that I actually start working on stuff above the creeper farm, and I totally just wasted a rocket there. But I honestly don't know which farm I'm going to do next. I probably will just do a general mob farm because I am lacking in stuff like bones and even string. Like, all that scaffolding, that was all my string. So I think on top of this, I'm going to build a large. Well, now that this is all finished, I think it's time I pop into a quick time lapse and just build a large, like, zombie, skeleton, etc. farm on top of this. So let's actually just hop into that. Okay, so this is the mob grinder in its entirety. As you can see, we got a creeper farm right there and just a general mob farm right there. Now, obviously, I promised an ultimate mob grinder, and this is just two mob farms stacked on top of each other. So one more is going to go in here, and that farm is going to be an iron farm. And I know what you're thinking. Well, you already have an iron farm. As a matter of fact, you built it on your first video. Well, yeah, but there's going to be a chunk loader here, meaning that the chunk is constantly going to be loaded, and that means any farms in the area will be working constantly. So an iron farm will be ideal here because that way I could get iron while I'm getting gunpowder and all that. And this works out too because, well, I mean, iron golems are mobs. They're technically can be part of a mob grinder. So basically, the golem farm is going to go under here, and it's just going to kind of chug along while the other farms are working. But I actually need villagers, and there's a slight problem with that, and that is, sorry, I need to wait for this creeper to die. There's actually a slight problem with that, and that is the only village is over, well, the only nearby village is over here, right? It's over in this direction. It's not loading. But the problem with this is my raid village. I did my raids here, and so there's only one villager left. If I was smart, I would have saved two. That way I could have bred them, but nope, there's only one. So now I have to head to the village over by my house, over by my mega base, and I'm going to get some villagers from there, but it is going to be quite the journey, so I better be prepared for the grind. Well, I've gone ahead and captured two villagers from the nearest village, and now I just gotta drag them all the way over. Okay, this is probably gonna be a problem. Yep, just gotta get them from here all the way to the mob farm. Man, this is gonna be a trip. One seriously long and uneventful trip later. Okay, so as you can see here, I have got both villagers in the area they need to be. The iron farm's going to be directly under here, but I have some blocks to drain and such before that. But I did get them over here, and I only need two, because the farm will work with, well, the farm works best with 20, but I could just breed these guys to get more. So now the next step is, of course, just to, I guess, dry out this area, because as you can see, there is a lot of water where the iron farm needs to be, so I'm going to start emptying this out now. Alright, so here's a quick progress update on the iron farm. I vaguely remember how to do this iron farm and a mixture of this and the tutorial, and I'm able to get through this pretty fast. So basically, this is the beds for the villagers, and the next step would be to push them in. So now I just gotta complete this. It is a bit harder because I'm in the middle of the ocean. This is literally just a drained portion directly under the creeper collections table. Like, up there, that's the creepers. So, yeah, this is a bit challenging on its own, but I think I've got it. The next step should be, these should all be workbenches, I believe. But I do have to, actually, this gets bumped up. I do have to get some villagers down here first. So I'm going to go grab these villagers and try to force them into here. Because I actually do not have all the villagers ready. I didn't even notice it was nighttime, holy. I am being a bit safer with nighttime because I'm afraid a drowned will somehow get the villagers. And that would not be pretty because, well, drowned villagers, drowns are zombies, you know the rest. So next step, like I said, is to get these guys into there. Now, it's surprisingly easier than you'd think, just because villagers and boats, you can just push them around. So I should be able to just to lightly tap these guys into the water stream. Okay, I was afraid one of them ejected. So now if I just, okay, I might have to open up a hole here. Basically, it should handle itself now. And there we go. Whew, that was a bit narrow. Okay, so now I'm going to finish sorting out this farm, and it should be a working iron farm in no time. Alright, so here's another progress update on the villager or iron farm. It's going pretty good. I am currently, oh my god, that is blasting in my ears. I am currently growing some villagers in there, and I've been entertaining myself by shooting fish, which is surprisingly really hard because, like, you gotta arc it a bit. Yeah, I missed that one. So, yeah, keeping myself busy while I'm trying to create a farm that these guys are going to manually give me iron. It's complicated, and I really need these guys to shut up, so I'm just going to snipe them on the foot. There we go. Anyways, so this is going, it's going pretty good, so now I'm just going to wait a pretty fat minute. Hopefully everything will go relatively smoothly. You might have to kill some nitwits, but other than that, I should be fine. Now, all the villagers have grown up. Surprisingly, all 20 of the villagers were not nitwits, so that means I had a pretty smooth run with that. I don't know why I can't place some of the blocks, probably because some of the villagers are in the way. What the heck is happening? It is not letting me place blocks. Well, whatever, everything's working. My goodness. It might be because some of the villagers, but I can't place blocks there. Okay. I really hope I put a torch down there. Nope, they were walking around in pitch blackness. That's neat. Okay, I don't have a torch. Ooh, I really should start coming prepared to these things. Basically, next step is to build a kill chamber. So I'm going to get working on that, and hopefully you guys will see the finished iron farm. Okay, so the golem farm is indeed finished, but a slight issue I'm having is the golems are spawning all the way over here. There are 2 golems in these waters. 2. See, one over there and the other one somewhere near there. Luckily, they've been kind of in a kill-death cycle with the drowned, as you can see by the iron ingots and rotten flesh floating around, at the fact that basically the golems are killing the drowned are killing the golems, and it just creates like an infinite loop of death of golems and drowns. But the problem is, I have an iron farm. I don't know why they're spawning down here, but they are. So, hopefully after I deal with these guys, they will start spawning in the correct area. and stop spawning in the middle of the freaking ocean, because I don't need golems in the ocean, and I just realized it's nighttime and I'm not by my bed. So I am hopefully fixed that, but I'm not sure if I did. How'd I... Okay, I'm not gonna question it. I need to find a way to do this. I'm gonna sort this out, and hopefully my golem farm is working. Otherwise, I may have just spent a bunch of time on nothing, and I just realized I'm not gonna be able to sleep because of monsters. That's fun. Okay, this is seriously becoming an issue. The farm can't work because golems are spawning down here, so the only solution I can think of is completely, like, un-ocean this whole portion of the ocean and just fill it with something like buttons or something that the golems can't spawn on. Because there's no way I'm wasting an iron golem farm because a stupid ocean is stopping me. This isn't the easiest solution, this wasn't the cheapest solution, but heck, it's a solution and I'm happy with that. Basically, I just coated the area in which golems can spawn with buttons, and now they can no longer spawn there. So that makes the golem farm indeed finished. It isn't working because I have reason to believe that there are still golems out there, and they're causing new golems to, well, not spawn. But I'm not too worried about that, considering that all the golems have been just annihilated by drowns. And every once in a while a golem will spawn in here, so I wonder if it's just slow spawning rates. Probably due to the amount of farms that are in the area. So the next part I want to add to this is actually a chunk loader, just so that this works regardless of where I'm at. So I think the chunk loader should go somewhere around here, probably at the back of the creeper farm, like around here. And it will just constantly cause all these farms to run, and it will essentially just make it so much easier for me to basically do anything. So I'm going to get working on that now. Well, I tried. I honestly did. But something I quickly learned while working with this is portals are very, very difficult. So I built a whole chunk loader on the receiving side. It was working perfectly. Everything was nice. And it linked up with my main portal. My portal over there by the little tree, the guidance tree, it linked up with this portal, and it sucked so bad. Basically, what happened was I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have to sacrifice that portal. But then it turns out the reason it linked up to it is because there's a cave down there that it holds the real Y coordinates of that portal. So if you destroy all the portals and enter the nether end, that's the receiving end. So it turns out chunk loaders are indeed impossible. So I'm just gonna give up on that and stick to good old AFKing here. But the good news is whatever golems were left are now dead, and there is for sure no way for them to respawn. So as you can see, the golem farm has been chugging along. So that is good news, and so now the next step is actually decoration. Now I know what you're thinking, what the heck, how am I going to decorate this? Well, the answer is simple. Considering this is a tower of mob farms, I'd figure a nice representation of this would be a tower of mobs. Just a good old tower of different rooms or boxes themed across each mob. So basically, like, for example, that would probably be spiders, the bottom's going to be an iron golem hand, that's going to be a creeper, yada yada yada. So I'm going to get working on this and actually gathering some. Need a lot of concrete, and concrete's something that doesn't exactly come cheap. We are over where I collect some of my sand and sandstone, and as you may notice, I am missing a pretty large chunk of my levels, and I did use them and waste them on enchantments, but I'd say it's pretty worth it considering I've got
Sargento, the Devastator,
and
Tillamook, the Eater of Worlds.
yes, I named my weapons after cheese companies. Don't judge me. Anyways, like I said, I'm over where I gather my sand, and I just need to get a whole lot of sand for more concrete for the mob grinder. Because, like I said, I'm going to be decorating it, but in order to do that, I'm going to use some concrete. So I'm going to keep grinding this along with some gravel out, and then I'm going to start actually building. So this might take me a little while, but let's go, I guess. So as you can see, I have been on a bit of a grind session, just gathering some general resources that I'm gonna need for the build. So if you can't tell already, there's gonna be a lot of concrete in this build due to the amount of sand and gravel and different kinds of dyes. And basically, like I said, I'm gonna be building a tower of mobs. Now, of course, this will not be actual mobs because I do not have the proper dimensions, nor the skill in pixel art for that. Instead, it'll be like floors inspired by the mob that they farm. So to start off with, we do have the iron golem at the bottom, which is going to feed into the creeper collection system, but I'll shift that to a spider instead, just because I feel like it's the appropriate shape. So I think it's about time that I hop into a quick time lapse and just do the first portion of this, probably just the spider and the iron golem themed room, and just speed through this just so I could show you guys somewhat what it's going to look like. So yeah, let's hop into this time lapse. Alright, as you can see, we have two buildings in place now, one representing a spider and one representing an iron golem, and both of these mobs do fall from the farm, so that does work out. So the next step is the farm above, the creeper farm. Now the problem with the creeper farm is, since it's so huge, it's going to take a lot of materials, and as I quickly learned with the iron farm, it's going to take a lot of materials. Aside from building these, I have been AFKing at this farm and kind of working through here and just making little tweaks here and there, and it's been working. As you can see, I have a fair amount of gunpowder in every one of these chests, and quite a bit of iron. So the next thing I want to do is actually work out the creeper building and just experiment with some stuff, because I'm not 100% sure that if I build a creeper building, that the farm will function perfectly. So basically, right now, the farm runs off the fact that there's shade up there. I am assuming that if there's a building in place there, I no longer need the shade, which will be handy, because right now the shade is casting a dark shadow over all the other farms, making it hard to see the decoration. But hopefully when I do install all the new upgrades and the way it looks, that will fix everything up. So I guess right now I'm just going to start gathering resources to build this, and the only problem with this is, since it is floating, I am going to have to turn the concrete powder into concrete, meaning that's going to take me a little while. So let me go on another grinding session. As shown by my inventory over here, I've done a bit of resource collecting and scrummaging or rummaging in my chests, and I have gotten and put together a couple of blocks. Now, if you know anything about building projects like this, you'll know that there is absolutely not enough blocks. There's no way I'm completing this with that many blocks. With that being said, I do have backup blocks for this project, and another thing I would like to mention is, as you may notice, the roof is gone. There is no more roof on the creeper farm. And surprisingly, it's been working, but there is no more roof, meaning that this thing is going to be encased in an entire box to make it dark. So now I'm going to enter a quick time lapse of me making this box, and hopefully it turns out good so I can just speed along through this, because I am having a very tough time recording for some reason. I'm not gonna lie with you guys, I am very, very upset right now, and that's nothing to do with the design, nothing to do with the farm, and that is actually to do with recording. So basically what happened was, I filmed about a 2-minute clip of me explaining on how the farm looked. Obviously it's designed after a creeper, and some other things. And the problem is that my PS4 decided that no, it did not want to record today, and so it didn't. And that really did suck, because 2 minutes straight of talking is not exactly easy, because I try not to breathe too much while I'm recording, otherwise I sound like this. So, anyways, as I was saying, kind of in that clip, is I finished the design. As you can see, it looks really great. There's an entrance in the back for collecting resources for the top farms. It's working perfectly, and there are some pretty good results coming out of the farms. So the next thing I need to work on is actually the skeleton zombie slash spider farm that is up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a skeleton and zombie themed room for both of those, and it's just going to look pretty nice on top of the creeper farm. Something I did learn the hard way though was how difficult it is to get this many materials. Like, that cost probably a shulker box or two full of wool, and especially lime wool is very difficult to get. Like I said, I need to go grind this stuff out and actually go work for it. The rooms are going to be a bit interesting because there's not that much room, especially on the collection chamber, but I will make it work to the best of my ability. I am going to avoid doing another time lapse, so I'm just going to kind of, spring these into existence. I am midway working through this project and the thing's turning into a squid farm. This thing's more efficient than I thought. Transition. Whoa, some new buildings just sprung out of midair. It's not like I spent hours or anything working on them just because of their awkward positioning. Well, all jokes aside, as you can see, the buildings are done, as well as a brand new AFK area, just so I can get these farms working as efficient as possible. And each farm is modeled after some of the mobs it produces. Like this is obviously zombie, the one under is skeleton, and that's really it because I didn't build anything else. Now, the next thing is I'm looking at this build and it's somewhat lacking. As you can see, there's just floating bits and bobs everywhere, so I think I just need a bit of glue to stick that together. So I think it's time we enter what I think is going to be the final time lapse and just wrap up this build for good by adding just a bit of glue in between the edges just so I can make this thing looking that much better. Alright, so as you saw in that time lapse, I was working on some of the parts that go in between the farms, like for example, the pair of skeleton arms that are now holding up the zombie head. Or another example would be the string that is now connecting the creeper part and the spider part, and that really I just like this bit because it really does emphasize that this is indeed a spider. Another thing I did, and this is probably my favorite, like, I guess last touch to this little building, is this witch hat up at the top, which I think came out super nice. It's not identical to a Minecraft witch hat, but it'll do, and it gets the point across that this is indeed a mob farm. So now if I head back over here, you may notice that well, two things. My little setup right here is gone, and so is the big, bulky AFK platform. They are now replaced by two smaller AFK platforms that I totally just missed. Now, the reason for this was I really didn't like the look of it, and this does the same thing as that one. I just need to land on it, which isn't really that difficult. So that does mean that I am wrapping up this build, and actually I finished wrapping it up when I removed those pieces, and I am now actually done here. So as much as I did love working on this project, I'm afraid it is finally time to end off this project. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I have a blast making these, so I hope you guys like my content, and I guess that's